These fabulous Easter egg lights are made almost entirely out of paper. They're so much fun to make. You can easily customize them to suit your decor, plus when using a handy LED remote light, you can easily change the light colors to suit the mood. Here I've created a bright springtime design with a colorful landscape, and then created an entirely different look using gold foil paper and rhinestones for my Faberge inspired egg. These would also be perfect on permanent display as a nightlight for your child's room. The possibilities are endless. The SVG files are available at www.decouvert.com, along with many other inspiring projects. So without further ado, let's get started. So here we have our pieces for the front of our shadow box. Now these are pieces marked 1 through 4, and you'll notice little markings on the tab. So just make sure you have pieces 1 through 4 and you have them the right side up. Okay, so 1 through 4 here, and you'll notice that the 4 is like a square, okay? And I've gone ahead and I've mountain folded along my score line. And I've also tried to make these curved. So I just went along the edge of my table and just sort of ran it along the edge of the table just to give it a little bit of a curve, okay? So once you've done that, and you make sure that you've got your pieces all lined up properly here, you just go ahead and you make sure that you've got this edge along the score line. And you'll also notice that I've got a few of these markings here, just so you know that this will go in between these two tabs here. So just follow along. And you want to do one tab at a time, glue one tab at a time, hold it down, let it dry, and then go on to the next. And you'll just continue along with each piece, just slowly gluing them together, okay? And then for the top, again, I've mountain folded all of these, okay, along the score line. And then you'll just see this little sliver here, right there. You see this little sliver here? You'll just go ahead and you'll just glue that down like so, okay? And then what you can do is once you've got all of your front together, then you can go along and you'll just make sure to line up again the edge with the score line and just attach half of your box to the top. And then you'll go ahead and you'll do the same thing with the back, and that in this case it'll be pieces 5 through 8, and you'll see the markings and make sure you've got them the right side up, okay? So it'll be 5, 6, 7, 8, and you'll put those all together. But again, you're not going to connect the front and the back yet because you're going to be putting your insert together, and you need to have the egg open to be able to access and be able to glue it down properly. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here we have our back layer of our Easter shadow box. This is the sky layer. I've gone ahead and I started to add a few more little stars, even though we do have a few stars that have been cut out by the machine. But I'm just going to go ahead and use the pin and just add a few more. And just be aware of how how it might look behind the mountain. So just to check for placement of your stars. And once you're done that, then you're just going to take your vellum piece that you've already hopefully cut out, and you'll just be gluing that to the back, just around the perimeter here and maybe around here. You don't want to put too much glue because it could show through once the light shines from the back. So once you've done that, then you're going to be cutting out your foam spacers. Your foam spacers will be about 3/16 inch wide by 2 inches long. So you'll just cut about 28 of those pieces here. And then what you'll do is for your sky layer, which will be a bit different from the other layers, is that you'll probably place it about 1.25 inches down from the edge, just so that, at least at the top, just to make sure that it's creating a space between your back mountain layer, okay? And then the rest of them, just leave about 1/4 inch from the perimeter here and just glue them down. So you can see that for the other layers, again, you'll have 1/4 inch perimeter clearance from the edge for the foam spacers. Now for the front, The front layer, you will not put any foam spacers at all, okay? So don't put any foam spacers on your front layer. And again, the foam spacers go to the front of the layer, okay? So just make sure that you put it to the front. And then once you've done that, then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so this is in regards to the sky layer. So if you're doing the colorful shadow box, the Easter box, and you'll notice I've got a bit of blue in the lake. It may not be that noticeable here now, but I did put a little bit of blue on the vellum prior to sticking the vellum onto the back of this sky layer. So prior to gluing it, I just made a faint line with my pencil, very, very, very lightly, just to give me an idea of where to put the ink. And then I went ahead and I used, this is like a color box ink, pigment ink, and it's sort of a sky color. And you could use your, you could use a sponge and just dab around that area. Again, you won't have the sky layer glued on, obviously, because you'll get the blue all over your sky. But this is just on the vellum itself. You'll just go ahead and you'll dab a bit of this pigment on there just to give it a little bit of a blue. I didn't bother doing the upper area. I just thought it looked nice the way it is, but just in this sort of area. Then once you've done that to your vellum, then you're going to go ahead and you'll glue it down to the back of your sky layer. Okay, we have our Easter eggs. I've gone ahead and I've cut these ones out of gold. So this is for a sort of Faberge egg. And what you'll do is you'll just take the little pieces of vellum that you have cut out, hopefully, and you'll just glue them to the back of your egg. Just putting a sparing amount of glue around the edges here. Don't put too much. You could use a toothpick or a pin just to put that glue on there. So then you'll glue that to the back of all 3 of your eggs. Okay, so once you've done that, then you've got your Easter bunny. So he may be out of gold if you're doing the Faberge egg. And then on what you'll do is you'll take the 3rd layer, okay, and you'll just sort of place your little bunny kind of roughly about here. Kind of center him a bit. You can see that his chest is sort of touching this little blade of grass. But again, this is up to you how you want to place these, how you want to place your bunny. You may think it may look better a different way. So, and then what you'll do is you'll just take your eggs, and I put one right about here, and then I took another one. So this is the 2nd layer, and I put that one, roughly about kind of around here on the 2nd layer. Okay, roughly about there. And then I took another egg and I put it roughly about here on your 1st layer. Okay, the placement is up to you. Just double check. You can just put all your layers together and just see, you know, how you like the placement of your eggs. You know, just making sure that you're not masking too much of the background or whatever else. So just play around with that, see if you like it. You may want to do your eggs in a different color, or maybe you want to do your eggs all white, or your rabbit white, or whatever. So this is all up to you. So go ahead and do that. So here we have our design layers for our Easter shadow box. And here I've gone ahead and I've added the Easter eggs to the 1st layer. I mean, you could put them wherever you like, but I decided to put actually the 2 to the front. And I just glued them down here like so. And here is my 2nd layer. I don't have anything on the 2nd layer, but again, you could put your eggs there if you like. And here I've got the bunny. I decided in this case to put the bunny behind the grass, and I put another egg over here. Okay, just be careful about how much glue you put on. I'll probably have to go in there and clean that up a bit, but just be aware that you don't use too much glue when you're putting this together. And so what you're going to do is you'll notice that on each and every layer there is a notch here at the top, the bottom, and the sides. And you're just going to line up those notches with the layer underneath. You'll see I'm just going to line them up. And you might notice that there's a little gap around the perimeter. Some of the layers may have about a 1/4 inch gap between the layers here. So really what you want to concern yourself is just lining up those notches and making sure that you line up both the top, the bottom, and the side. And you're going to put a bit of glue here, glue there, and just line it up and hold it down. And you'll do that to each layer. You'll just glue them all down, okay, until it's about like this, like so. Okay, so here I have my design layers. Everything is glued down. I went ahead and I put a pencil mark at the top and at the bottom where the notches are, just so I can see for alignment. So I've got the front of my egg here, and I'm just making sure to place this down, and I'm lining up these notches with the center of the front of the egg, the top of the bottom, making sure that it's all aligned. And then once you sort of have that set up, then what you'll do is the tabs, you'll line up the top of the tabs with the score line, okay, or with the edge of the egg, okay? So you'll line that up, and then maybe just put it over and just take a look and see that you like the placement. And once you're happy with that, then you go ahead and just glue those tabs down, okay? Again, lining them up at that score line there, okay? So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the front of my egg. It's all glued down and it's dry. I did use a bit of painter's tape actually to initially sort of for placement. I just sort of, you know, taped down the tabs and then just checked to see that I liked the placement. And then I went ahead and glued it down. So you may want to do that. Okay, so once you've done that, then you're going to be gluing the back, the assembled back, to the front of your egg. And of course, make sure that you're putting it the right side up. So the top of the back of the egg is the one without the notches, okay, without the score lines, okay. And this is the bottom. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to be lining up these tabs here with the top, and make sure that you're lining up the edge right along the score line, okay, and just hold it down, glue one down, hold it, and then go off to the next one and hold it, and so forth. Now you may want to approach this another way, instead of from the top side, coming at it like so. Okay, so you're basically going to be coming at it from the inside. I don't know if you can see that there, but just lining them up carefully, checking to see that your score line is lined up against the edge. Again, gluing one at a time down. Now you can use different tools for this too. You can use maybe a popsicle stick to go in there. And if you're finding it too fickle to get in there with your hands, or you could just use a scraper and just go in there and just sort of hold it down as you're going along. Okay, so just go ahead with that, and then we'll go on to the next step. I have finished gluing the back to the front. Okay. Now don't worry if you got a lot of glue on top of your egg. It's okay, because you're going to be covering that with the decorative papers. So, but just a few tricks is just, you know, you could use your scraper. You could use a popsicle stick again to apply glue to the tabs as you go from the inside. Now it's it can be a bit fickle as you go. So again, I definitely advise that as you're going along, just make sure that you go one tab at a time. Okay, one tab at a time, and just continue along. You can apply the glue onto your tabs with your popsicle stick if you're having trouble getting your hand in there. And then just sort of, either you could use this to hold it, to hold the tabs down. Okay, and just continue slowly. You have to be patient with this. Just take your time. Just really, the whole idea is just to glue one tab at a time and let it dry, and then off to the next. Just take as long as you need to get it to adhere properly, and just to make sure that you've got your edges lined up with your score line. Okay, and make sure, double check. Once you've glued the tab down, turn it around and just see that it is lined up, that your edge is lined up with your score line. Okay, so just make sure that this here is all lining up. So that's just a few little tips, and then we're going to be starting the other side. Okay, so I'm starting to glue the other side. So what I've done is I slipped a little bit of glue onto a little bit of a piece of paper, and I just sort of slipped it in here. Now make sure that all your top tabs are tucked in, okay, before you go ahead and do this. So I put a little bit of glue with the paper, and now I'm just holding down, got my hand right in there, and I'm just holding it down like so. Okay, and hold until you feel that it's glue down really well. And then I'll go on to the next. I'll put a little bit of glue on my paper. I'll just go in like this, and then I'll do the same thing. Now making sure, see how it's got some untucked here. I tuck in my tab, okay, before I do that, and then I'll just hold it down like so. Okay. So you'll just continue on until you get to the end. Okay. So again, I've got my whole hand inside here, and I'm sort of slowly gluing it down like that. Okay. So finish that, and then we'll be off to the next step. Okay. So here I have the top of my egg, and what you're going to do is you're going to reach inside the egg. Okay, of course you will not have your base on yet. I've gone a bit ahead of myself there. But what you're going to do is just take a little piece of paper, a little bit of scrap paper, and just put a little, I put a little bit too much glue, but just a little bit of glue here. Just tuck it in there, and then you'll just hold it down, okay? Carefully hold it down, and just do the same to each one. Again, you've got your hand inside there, so using the pressure, and just hold it down. And you'll be doing this before you put the base on, okay? So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go to the next step. Here is the base of your Easter egg. Now, what you're going to do is you have two different choices. You can either use the file that has the score lines, okay? Or you could go ahead and score these yourself with a bone folder and a ruler, and just go around and score these lines here. And you're also going to be scoring in between these tabs here as well. So you'll score here, you'll score here, here, all the way around. You'll notice there isn't a tab on this side here, but there is one here, and you're just going to go and you're going to score all of that, and you're going to mount and fold all of these. Just carefully mount and fold these. These are a little bit tricky because it is the foil paper, so this is a little bit tricky. And just sort of give it a good fold, and then you'll add. Then what you'll do is you'll be gluing this down edge by edge, this piece here. Okay, just carefully take your time. Make sure that you've already folded all of your score lines here in between the tabs. You see, in between the two V's, you're going to have score lines going all the way around this piece. I'll have a legend too, you can check it out. Again, you can just stay with the file that has the score lines, or what you could do is you could use your scoring wheel on your machine. You could do that as well, or you could do it by hand. So that's up to you. So then what you're going to be doing with this base is that you're going to be adding this piece here, which is just from plain cardstock. And you're just going to go around and you're going to line up these edges here and just glue that down one at a time. Take your time to make sure you align them properly. There is a bit of ease in there, so that it should be relatively easy. So here I have the other part of my base. I have gone ahead and I have added in my score lines. Okay. Now again, you could let the machine do this. You could have machine score lines if you like. I went ahead and did them by hand because I didn't want to have the little dashes showing through. So I did those by hand. I just made sure to line up, making sure that it was a 90-degree angle, and I just went across with my bone folder. Okay, and then I went ahead and I just mount and folded all of these. And then what you'll do is you'll just glue this tab here down. Okay. Okay, so after gluing the side of this piece here, I slowly shifted it downwards into my octagon base. And again, the tabs are going to be downwards. And it's much easier actually to do it from the top down than trying to fit it in this way, okay? And then once you have the tabs in place and you like the way everything is looking, then you can go ahead and start to glue these down. And one at a time. Take your time with it, hold it down, hold it down. It can be quite tricky because you have the foiled paper, as it was tricky with this, even though it just seems this is a little bit slicker than a regular cardstock, the back of the paper. So just take your time with it, you know, with this area here and with this area here. Just go a little bit at a time. Let it hold it, let it dry, and then off to the next one, sort of pinching it here, okay, if you're having trouble. And also what you can do is you're finding that some areas are coming up. You can just put a little bit of glue on a bit of scrap paper here and just sort of go like so and hold it down. Okay, if you're finding just little bits like this little bit here, which is sort of sticking up, I can just stick my little piece of paper in here with a bit of glue and then just hold it down. Okay, and you'll do the same with these here. Just one at a time, hold it, especially because it's foiled paper. It's going to take a little bit longer to adhere, okay? So take your time with it. Once you're done that, then we'll be adding the veneer, okay, just to cover up all these tabs. Okay, so here I have the other base piece. So you've already glued in the white piece, and now you'll just take the golden piece and just to cover up, you know, cover up the seams inside of here. So just line it up and glue that down, making sure that you've got everything lined up with the exterior as well as the interior, and glue that down. Okay, so here I have the base. Now I've gone ahead and I started to glue some of the decorative elements all around. So what you're going to do is you're going to be using very, very, very spare amounts of glue. Okay, I used a toothpick, and I just put a little bit of glue on a piece of paper here, and then I've just sort of slowly added little bits of glue around the perimeter, and then you could use your tweezers and then just glue this down like so. Okay, just making sure that you're nicely centered. Okay, and you'll do the same with this piece as well, which will go around the bottom. Again, very, very, very sparing amounts of glue. use your tweezers and just make sure that it's nicely centered here, okay? And the idea, especially with the glue, because of the foiled paper, it really does show through. So be very, very careful with the amounts of glue you use. You may want to start on the back, so that at least if you got a bit of glue on the back, it's not so bad because you can't really see it from the front. So you could maybe start with the back if you're having, if you're a bit nervous about it. Okay, so go ahead and do that and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so once you've finished putting all of your decorative elements around the base, I haven't yet, but I will be. I just wanted to show you how you're going to be putting the egg into the base. So just, you can see that you've got tabs here around the bottom of your egg. And just to line it up, and just maybe you might want to put the seam here, where the tab is, that would be the back. And just line it up, okay, like so. Okay, and just make sure that you've got your edge of your base is lined up with the edge with the score line. Okay, and then just glue one tab down at a time. Okay, and then let that dry, then off to the next. Okay. Okay, so here I have my pieces for the bird wing. So there are 5 pieces. So what you're going to do is you're just going to put a little bit of glue at the top and then just stack them, okay? Now don't glue the entire piece, okay? So just continue along, gluing them down like so, okay? Not too much. You don't want to be using too much glue here. Okay, so once you've done that and it's dry, then what you're going to do is you're going to be adding some texture. So just use your round nose pliers here, and you'll just turn these bits of feathers up, okay, and just go along. Maybe you could use a toothpick as well. You could use the toothpick to do this, a pin. You're just curling them up a bit, okay? You could just maybe curl this a little bit up too. And then once we're done that, we'll go off to the other part of the bird. Okay, so here I have my bird body, and I've got this piece, that piece, and I have the feather piece, or the top of the bird's body. It's the shorter piece. And what you'll do is you'll sort of shape this piece so that it follows the lines of the bird body here, okay? So just make sure that you've scored everything and you've shaped it. And then you're going to see that there is a bit of a point here. I don't know if you can see it. There's just a bit of a point, like right there, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to line that up with the top of the beak. So you'll just take this and you will line it up here, okay, with the top of the beak, and you'll just glue that down. And you're going to hold it because of course it's foiled paper, it takes a lot longer to adhere, so just take your time with it. And then you'll do the same. You'll just continue along with the tabs, tucking them in and gluing it all the way down right to the end of the bird body there. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've started curling the tail feather of my bird using a toothpick. I've just gone ahead and I've curled. I'm starting from the outer feather, working my way in. So I started with this one, curled it to the end, and then on the second feather I curled it, but then I stopped once my toothpick met the first feather. And the same with this one, I started curling and then I kind of stopped once my toothpick hit the second feather. So you get that kind of triangular formation there. So when I start with the next one, I'll start on this side, curl this one up, and then I'll curl the second one up. Okay, so here I'm attaching the belly of my bird. So you're using that piece with the long feathers, so sort of the longer piece. And what you'll do is you're first going to shape it, again, like you did with the top, and make sure that it follows the shape of the bird body before you begin. And once you've done that, then you'll notice on this piece is that there is a score line along with the triangle at the top. So what you're going to do is you're going to line up that score line with the bottom of the beak, okay? and then you'll start to glue it down. And again, you have to hold it down for quite a long period of time because of the foiled paper. It will try to unglue itself. So just take your time with it and go tab by tab all the way to the end. And then with the other side, of course, because it's a small space to get your fingers in, you can start to glue it from the outside, and you could just put a little bit of glue on a piece of paper, a piece of scrap paper like we were doing before, and just kind of tuck it in there and hold it down. Now it helps that your tabs are kind of up a bit, so that when you hold them down, they're going to hold against the paper. Okay, so maybe having them a little bit up instead of kind of folded under. Okay, so then you'll just continue along, just putting a little bit of glue, holding it down, and go all the way to the end. Okay, just making sure. You may not have to glue every single tab down, just see how it goes. All right, so just continue with that and we'll go off to the next step. So I've gone ahead and I curled the longer tail feathers in a similar fashion as I did with the shorter ones. So I started from the outer edge, and I stopped about roughly about an inch away from this curl here. Okay, so I just sort of curled it about an inch away, and then I did the same thing. I curled the second one and I stopped once I reached the edge of this one, and the same with the middle one. And then I started on this side, I started from the outside and then in. Okay, so make nice little curls. If you have a twirling tool, that's even better. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so now, of course, if you've got your feathers ready, what you'll do is you'll just pop this little tab out here, and you'll just glue them down roughly like so. Okay, so about like that. Okay, and go ahead and do that. You'll do that on both sides. So here I have my bird. I've pretty much completed him. I'm just adding the crown feather here. So what you're going to do is just line up that tip with the score line on the bridge of the nose and basically glue down about 3/8 onto the head of the bird. Okay, and then you'll just curl it like you did with the tail feathers. And once you've done that, then you can add your little birdie feet, and you can put them a little, maybe about here. Okay, just so they're pointed a little bit outwards, maybe like so. Okay, like that. So glue that down, and then what you'll do is you'll add your rhinestone. You can put a rhinestone on the eye, that's optional. Okay, just a little bit of glue, and then just plop that down with your tweezers or this little tool like we were discussing earlier. Okay, so here we have the petals for our flower. So each flower, you have 3 large petals, a medium petal, and a small petal. Okay, so what you're going to do is with 3, so this 1 large petal, 1 medium, 1 small, you're going to go from the front, and you're just going to take your ball tool and just go in. And of course you've got your like a sort of a foam pad that you're doing this on. Okay, and just curl up those petals, and then just give it a little bit of a hit in the middle there. Okay, you can kind of use your fingers a bit, and then you'll do the same to the other petal, the medium one. Okay, and curl it up. So you'll continue on like that for these 3 here. Okay, now the 2 other large petals, you'll turn them around. Okay, and you'll go in from the back. You might want to use the other side of your stylus and just go around the back. Okay, and then go ahead and make an indent in the middle. Okay, same thing with this one. Okay, so you'll do 2 from the back. Okay, so do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so once you've done all your shaping for your flower, what you'll do is you'll just, use your toothpick, or if you've got a fine point glue dispenser, or tip, sorry, and just put a little dab of glue in the middle here, okay, and then you'll just take your tweezers and you're going to stagger the petals, so you're putting the petal in between the other one, sort of lining it up like that, you see? So these are the ones that are folded, that you went ahead and shaped from the back side, so the two large petals that were shaped from the back side, and then you just take your stylus here and just hold it down, okay? Making sure that it's sort of the petals are staggered. And then you'll take your medium, and again you'll line it up, you'll put a little dab of glue, you'll line it up so that you're sort of staggering it once again, okay? So they're not all on top of each other, the petals, that they're sort of in between the one on the bottom. And you just continue along like so. Again, going in with your stylus, holding it down, and so forth, and then the medium, and then the small. So I finished gluing my petals together, and I went ahead and I added a rhinestone in the middle. So I just took my tweezers, I picked it up, and I put just a little bit of glue in the middle there, and I just plopped it down. And then you can probably just adjust the placement with your tweezers and hold it down. So once that's dry, what you're going to do is you're going to attach it to the stem, and you'll have it so where you've got two leaves going this way for two of them, and then the other one, you'll flip it over and it'll be going the other way, and then you'll just glue them all down here, okay, and just hold it down and make sure it's all dry. Here I'm just going to be shaping the leaves of my flower, and I'm just taking my ball tool and just going along and curling these little leaves, okay. So you could just go ahead and do that on those. Now, for the colorful Easter box, okay, you can see that I went ahead and I put a little bit of a little dollop of yellow paint just in the middle, okay. And what else you could do is you can use a shade darker than the color of your flowers, and you can just brush that onto the tips of your petals. And you can do the same with perhaps a dark green and do that to the leaves of your flower as well, okay, just to add a little bit of color. But again, the shaping of these, everything is exactly the same as the gold flowers, okay. So here we have our pieces to the topper. Okay, and what you'll notice is this piece has a notch here and it has two notches here, okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to start rolling from this end, the opposite end, okay, the one without the notch, and you're just going to start to roll it tightly around your barbecue skewer, okay, and just roll it tight, 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 and then you'll notice you'll get to maybe about 1/8 of an inch away from the notch on either end, okay. So the whole idea is that it fits into the hole of this piece here, okay, and make sure that it fits sort of snugly. You don't want it to be loose, you want it to be snug, okay. So you'll just glue it down once you know that it's fitting snugly, it's fitting perfectly into this piece here, into this hole here. And what you're going to do with this piece here is that you're going to score along the top of your cuts, okay, and then you're just going to fold it down like so, okay. So go ahead and do that. We'll go off to the next step. Okay, so we're finishing off the topper here, and I made sure that this was really, really well glued down, okay, and really held it down a lot, made sure that it fit into this hole here and it fit snugly. So that was done. And what you're going to do is you're going to pre-shape this piece here, okay? Now you could roll it around this, okay, so that it's pre-curled, Or you could take something that is of a sort of a thinner, a smaller diameter than this piece, and tightly wind it around this. So it could be like a, you know, a paintbrush or whatever. And you just sort of make sure that it's tightly wound around here. And then you can start to wind it along your pole, okay? And just notice here that you've got a notch here. So that's the bottom, and the side without the notch is the top, okay? So what you're gonna do is, once it's sort of pre-shaped, you're gonna again shape it again around your pole, okay? Making sure that it's tight, 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 okay? And then you'll just add a little bit of glue here, a little bit of glue here, and you're going to glue it onto itself. You're not gluing it onto the pole yet, okay? So you'll hold it down. And then once it's dry, what you'll do is you'll just sort of push on the pole here, just put a little bit of glue at the top, okay? And then tuck it back down and hold this side, okay? Hold the top. Once that's dry, then you're going to do is you're going to kind of push it about a quarter of an inch above your notch, put a bit of glue here, and then bring it back down just to the notch, okay, and glue it. So then you'll have this sort of shape here, okay? So you'll do that. And then once you've done that, you're going to score these two pieces here. So just, you know, fold all your tabs down, okay? And what you'll do is you'll just glue down the sides, like so. So glue down the side. And with the smaller one, once it's glued down, you're going to place it inside your shape, okay, and glue down the bottom. So you'll just place this down inside. I'll place this down inside, okay, and glue down the tabs here. And then you'll glue down the top, okay, making sure that you're lining up the corners with each corner of your octagon, okay. So, and then with this one, with the larger octagon, you're only going to be doing the top, okay? So you'll be gluing the side down like so, and you'll just be placing this on top. You don't put it inside, you're just going to be placing it on top, okay? And this part will be glued, the bottom will be glued to the top of the egg, but not yet. Okay, so hold off on that. So I finished gluing all of these pieces together, and everything is dry. And what you're going to do is you're just going to add a bit of glue at the base, at the bottom of this piece here, and you'll just slip it in and hold it down, and making sure that it's completely straight at a 90-degree angle, and hold it down. You might be able to use a glue gun instead. It might be a little bit easier. And then what you can do is, if you have some rhinestones that are, you know, about the same diameter as your topper here, you could just sort of lay one down at the top here. And then once that's done, what you'll do is you'll just glue this piece down onto the larger octagon and just hold that down, okay? So find the best side of your topper, the one with the less glue mistakes on it or whatever, and just make sure that the seam, you've got this ribbon here, I got this from Michael's, so this is approximately about 3 7/8, enough to go around this area here. And I guess just try to, once you find the best side of your topper, just make sure that the seam is positioned to the back so you don't see it, okay? So you could either, you know, if you've got it, if it's self-adhesive, you could just, you know, peel this off and glue it down, or you can use your glue gun to glue this down. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've started to add the pattern paper to my egg, and you sort of line it up. Now, in case of the front of the egg, what you want to do is you really want to make sure that you've got this area lined up first and glue it down. Okay, making sure that you get right up to the edge. But make sure that this is positioned first, okay, before you glue the rest of it. You know, before you glue the top and the bottom down, just make sure that you've got the opening lined up, okay? Okay, so I finished adding my rhinestones to my topper, and now I'm going to place the topper, and I'm going to glue it to the top of the egg, making sure that the edges of the octagon line up with the segments of my egg, okay? So just making sure, and making sure that I've got, of course, the front, the good side to the front, and just making sure that I have it lined up right like so. Okay, and you'll just hold it down for a long period of time. You'll notice because this is shiny, it's going to take a little bit longer to glue down. So really take your time, hold it down. You could use your glue gun for this as well, okay? But just take your time with it. Make sure you've got your placement just right and hold it down for a fair amount of time before you let go. Here I'm adding some bling to my Easter egg. And what I've used is I basically took this ribbon, the same ribbon that I used for the topper, the self-adhesive ribbon, and I just took my scissors and I carefully spliced it in the middle and just continued along. And I cut myself about a 9 1/8 length, okay, for these long sides over here. And then of course you want to carefully measure for your shorter lengths here, making sure that you just line it up. And you're wanting to center it, and make sure that you're completely centering it on the seam, okay? And just continue along like that. If you're having trouble, again, you could always use your glue gun. And with the other egg, you can see that what I did is I used ribbon for the seams. Okay. So, or whatever else you have on hand, you know, whatever you like. Or you may not, or you may prefer not to use any trim at all, depending on how nice and neat your seams are. Okay. So here I've added the ribbon to the seams of this colorful egg, and what I did is I just sort of tucked the ribbon under at the opening here, so you don't see any raw edges. So just remember to do that when you're adding your ribbon to the bottom and the top. Okay. So now we're going to be adding our bird to the top of our egg. So I'm just aligning it here. See, we're sort of off to the seam on the side here. And I'm just basically centering my bird on the side seam and just putting his belly up against, or his chest up against that top octagon there. Okay, and then you'll do the same on the other side. Again, using your glue gun, because that's the easiest way actually to glue it down here. Okay, so just go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm shaping my decorative leaves for the base of my lamp. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use our ball stylus again, and we're just going to go along the leaves like so, just to give them a bit of a shape. You could do every other leaf on the back side, and then come at it from the other side, okay, just to create some variation. And you'll just, you know, go from either the small end or the large end, and just to create a bit of shape here. Okay, so you'll do that on all 4 leaves. Okay, so I finished shaping all 4 of my leaves. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to line this point up with the center front corner, okay, and just have it so that it's wrapping around like so. And use the photo as reference, and you'll do the same to the other side, and then again to the back side, okay, following the same. You'll just line it up with the center of the back, the points of the branch with the center of the back, and curling it around the base. Okay, and just tack it down lightly. So here you can see that I've added my flowers. I've put a flower just a bit, half an inch away from the midsection of the egg, and then I put one on either side. So you can place them like I have, or choose a different placement for your flowers, or perhaps even want to add more flowers and more foliage, and the files are there, so if you want to cut up some more, you can always do that. Okay, so here I have my LED puck light, and it also comes with a handy little remote, so you basically can switch between colors however you like, and it actually is quite bright, as you can see. So what you do is you just basically just take your egg light and just slip it over the top. And of course you can go ahead and you can start changing the lights here. I'm trying to do this with one hand, but this is a lot of fun. You can see. Okay. So there you go. And you can go ahead and try all the different colors. So we have completed our springtime Easter egg light and our Faberge light, and I think these just turned out fabulous. You may even find it difficult to give them away, but you can always make more. If you like this project, don't forget to subscribe and visit my website at www.decouvert.com for more fun papercraft files. Thanks again for joining me, and happy Easter!